Welcome to the Women in Leadership webinar. And I'm so grateful for so many of you to show up today and give me your lunch hour. And so we're going to be looking at an amazing model to help you lead with purpose, clarity, and impact. So before we begin, a little bit about me. My name is Bryony. And if any of you do insights, I lead with my preference to yellow and green. And I am a qualified teacher, and I am also a qualified coach and trainer. And I'm also award-winning. And I have worked with multiple companies and organizations across the globe in training, management, leadership, and so I'm really great to see you all today and share this fantastic model that I think will transform whatever industry you work in, whatever career you have. This is such an incredible model. And so welcome. So to begin with, just a few little kind of ground rules in a space, because there's so many of us here. Really, for high-performing teams, psychological safety is paramount. So I want to make sure that this is an interactive session. So please, cameras on when you can, because I love seeing all your lovely faces. But don't worry if you've got babies, you're running after kids, you're eating, you're walking about, I don't mind. I love to feel connected with you, whatever's going on with you in the world right now. So as we move through this session, just get involved as much as possible in the chat and ask questions, share ideas, reflections, whatever you wish. So in this session, I invite everyone to be honest, take risks, make mistakes, ask questions. There are no such thing as silly questions. And most importantly, be yourself. And this is a safe and confidential space. So I invite everybody in this space to respect people's shares. And if you agree with that and you consent to creating this wonderful space of incredible women, then please just pop yes in the chat, so I know that we are all on the same page before we get stuck in, because I want us all to feel that safety and that connection together. So the more you comment, the better, because every time we write, we speak, and we contemplate our learnings, our insights, then we further embed that into our visions and values, and that's going to ripple out into our behaviors, our actions, and results. So own your voice in this. And even if you don't normally feel comfortable sharing, then I invite you to just dabble and get involved in the chat where you can, because that's going to the edge of the comfort zone, but that's a really exciting place to be once you've just taken that little step. So thank you all. Lots of yes. Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And today it's not about agreeing with me or disagreeing with me. This is actually a session to open up for insight, for you to consider for your own circumstances, your own workspace, your own career trajectory, for your own industry. Okay, so I love a bit of ancient wisdom to start, and I really love this quote. Because the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new, as Socrates says. And so what this webinar is not going to be is an hour of talking about how women are frustrated about being underrepresented. We're all aware of that. So today is about moving forward. But before we do that, I am just going to give you a couple of stats just to bring it into awareness before we step into leading that change. So this photo, I always feel like speaks huge words without being words. And globally, women just hold 24% of senior leadership positions, and women make up less than a third of the top jobs in the UK. But things are changing, and change does take time. So this is why we're here today. So in today's session, we're going to be defining the characteristics of a centered leadership approach. And that is the model that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And we're also going to explore different exercises for your self-audit, for your personal areas of development. So this is a huge topic, as I'm sure you're aware. So I've taken the self-audit approach so you can get involved as much as you want to, making notes in a notebook or ideally in the chat so I can see what's happening as well. But also to take these questions that I'm going to be posing to you and exercises today for you to then do in your own time and see what you can get from it from your own point of view and industry when you have the space beyond this webinar as well. So we are covering a lot in this hour. And remember, you don't have to remember it all. You don't even have to engage in it all. Trust that whatever lands for you is perfect and correct for what you need right now. And as a note, just to be aware, if there's anything that I share today and it maybe feels a little bit weird, a bit icky, or you might find yourself doing a bit of an internal eye roll, as I like to call it, then I would invite you to think about perhaps that response is actually something that's a protection mode. So maybe that area that I'm talking about at the time is actually something to explore a little bit deeper for yourself beyond this session. So before we begin, I find calming the nervous system hugely important. And so for just a split second, I would invite you to place your feet flat on the floor, sit up really comfortably and tall. And if you feel comfortable to, close your eyes or find a focus just in front of you. And just take a moment to breathe. As I can see, you're all fantastic and very busy, I am imagining. So just taking the second for you. It's going to be really important. And we're going to do something called a box breath, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. So we're going to, if you want to draw it with me, you can. I kind of prefer to use my hand to draw it because it helps me guide my own breath. We're going to breathe in for 4 through our nose. 2, 3, 4, and then hold it. 2, 3, 4, and then breathe out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4, and then breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, and in. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, and in. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. You can bring yourself back into the room when you're ready. How did that feel? There's something about that particular breath work that always just makes me go, oh, let's go. More grounded, more ready to go. Do you utilize your breath in your day-to-day life as busy women? Because I think we can all underestimate the power of what we actually do naturally every day. So let me know in the chat. Do you breathe? Obviously you breathe, but do you breathe intentionally? Because it can be an absolute game changer. So we're going to carry on now, and we're going to start introducing you to the centered leadership model. And so here we are. We have our meaning, our connecting, our energizing, our framing, and our engaging. Now, this centered leadership model is designed to build the ability of a leader so that they can be mindful in those key moments, those leadership challenges, decisions, as well as the day-to-day. And so this model is actually being developed by the McKinsey company and an amazing person called Joanna Barsh and Joanne Lavoie. And it's used globally in Fortune 100 companies around the globe. And it's been created over 10 years of incredible field testing and research. And so this leadership model, it works for men and women alike. But the research shows that particularly this model resonates with women because it has been built on a foundation of research into women's specific needs and experiences. And so it was based on the core sort of 3 areas being the number 1 was women can often opt out of leadership positions, or they may choose to step away earlier than men. The second one being the invisible workload. Potentially, women have that double burden of household or motherhood, as well as their leadership positions and management positions. And that can be draining in energy, particularly, and very challenging. And then the third one is about the genetic disposition. It tends to be that females do experience more emotional ups and downs, and they feel it more intensely than men do. And that's just a genetic disposition. But also we have factors to consider like pregnancy, baby loss, perimenopause, menopause, just to name a few. So these have potentially negative emotions which may come through, which they aren't. It's just about building awareness to it. So this is what this model does. The centered leadership model actually consciously draws on positive psychology. It is built on the foundation of research from women across the globe and is a discipline that seeks to identify what makes healthy people thrive and then how to tangibly use it in your life. So today is going to be a whistle-stop tour of all of these capability areas. So like I said, you can reflect as we go, pop it in the chat as anything comes up, and then you can revisit it for deeper exploration. Victoria, thank you. I've just seen your thing. Not often enough with the breathing. I think that we're all probably guilty of that one. So hopefully this is bringing it back into your awareness so you can use it more in your day. So meaning, let's just briefly go through these sections of the model. So meaning, this is about your purpose and your vision. So when we have deep meaning and a shared purpose for anyone involved, your team, yourself, as humans, we perform better when we know the why. Connecting. So this is about having strong informal and formal networks, communities, trusted relationships. Energizing. This is about having those sustainable practices and actually restoring our energy. So being awareness of our management of our energy so that we can sustain that transformational growth for yourself, but also for your team and for your business. Framing or positive framing. This is about shifting any habitual patterns in yourself, but also going larger and into the work culture. It's about framing or reframing negatives, any mistakes, challenges into more of a learning and a growth opportunity. And engaging. This is stepping into leadership decisions, actions, results, having intentionality with that, and also having that collaboration and creation of opportunities. So this model is proven to increase the number of female leaders significantly across the globe with companies who've utilized this. And because it gives women particularly the tools to build leadership skills in any industry. So comment in the chat right now, what areas are standing out to you right now? And if you're feeling brave, you might even want to share the ones that are making you feel like, I don't know if I want to explore that one, or I'm not sure that one feels right. Be honest. Again, like I said at the beginning, it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. So let me know in the chat what's coming up for you so much. I've been working on the why recently. Thank you, Jill. It's so important, and we're about to get onto that one. So fantastic. As I'm talking, please do comment on the chat. Don't feel like you have to stop for me. So I want to share with you 3 levels of transformation. And this is a very simple model that is a really good baseline about how we build ourselves up in our personal and professional growth. So as you can see here with my little gold circles, it's about the identity and environment. That's where we have to start. If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a very similar but simplified version of this. Identity and environment being yourself, and then how you are in your environment around you. It's not until we have that we can then look at strategy and mindset. And then when we get to that stage, we can then look at behaviors and habits. But often what happens in our professional and personal growth is that we shift straight to the behaviors and habits. But actually, if we don't know the why behind it and we don't believe the why behind it, often that is then going to affect the habits and behaviors because they're more likely to, drop away. Imagine if you had a kind of health goal, maybe about your fitness levels and that kind of thing. You might put some behaviors and habits in to support that. But actually, if you don't truly believe that 1, you can do it, and 2, the why behind you actually want to do it, then actually you'll probably find yourself plateau, and then like good intentions will start to sort of peter off. If that resonates, pop it in the chat, be honest. Yeah. Thank you. I'm just checking out the chat. Sustainable practices, excellent, meaning and energizing. Excellent. Keep them coming in. I really love to see what's resonating already. So we're going to go straight to meaning. So meaning, it relates to our identity and our environment as it starts with us. It's about your happiness, your core strength, your purpose, and also that far-sighted vision, that bigger picture. So why is meaning important for leaders? Well, studies have shown that among professionals, it translates into greater job satisfaction, happiness, higher productivity, lower staff turnover, and actually increased loyalty and improved retention. So here's some self-audit questions. Now you can answer them all if you're feeling on it. You can just look at them and then ponder them for later. You can just pick one, however you want to do it, go for it. But I'm going to pose some questions to you now. And so if you want to add your answers into the chat, I'd love to hear. So here's a big one, actually. Do you know what truly makes you happy? Let me know in the chat. What makes you happy? This could be personally and professionally, because actually I believe, we're a whole human being. It's like a 360 degrees experience. We're intertwined. So actually, as much as we may want to separate them, it's just us. So what makes you truly happy? Feeling like I can make a difference. I love that. And then someone else feeling like I'm making a difference. Wow. I love it when we collectively have the same feelings. Professionally, it's having a sense of achievement, achieving an end goal, achievements and making a difference, helping people. Fantastic. Keep them coming in. Helping people, making a difference. I'm seeing a beautiful theme here, a thread between all of us, really commonality. Accomplishing the task at hand and making every deadline I can. Thank you, Tony. Meaningful connections, working with others on projects, balanced work and home life, serving others and making a positive difference. Fantastic. Okay, the next one. It's great to know our core strengths. I like to call this the zone of genius. You know that thing that you do that you can't really explain? It's just so innately you. It's so natural to you that you just do it. And then other people go, how did you do that? And then if you try to explain, you'd be like, oh, I don't actually know because I just do it. What is that in you? What are you great at? What actually takes very little energy because it's what we call flow state. It just flows out of you. It's so easy. Let me know. Supporting others, serving others, making a positive difference, seeing others grow in confidence, ability, knowledge, organization. Yes, system knowledge. Fantastic. Retaining the detail. I love these. Eco-awareness and sharing that information. Wonderful. Excellent. Being able to empathize and relate to people on all levels, helping others grow and develop. Connections. Excellent. So research has shown that women with a why tend to take new paths and they accept their personal risks to achieve their goals. So what's your why? What are your core values? What's your pursuit for purpose? Do you know them? And if you don't, that's okay. It doesn't matter. That's not a problem at all. But bringing it into your awareness might mean that you might go and explore now. What is your why? What are your core values? Let me know in the chat if you know them or if you started to explore them, because it's also something that's ever evolving. It's not something that you just go, that's my core values, and then it never changes. There will be certain things that do stay the same, but actually it is an evolution. So what are yours? Mine are calm, connection, curiosity, and creativity, because in everything I do, when I'm serving people to be the best they possibly can be, I want them to be in a calm place. Hence the pit stop that we did at the beginning. I want to create community and connection. Hence me banging on about the chat. I want you to get curious because I know that if you get curious, you're going to get more from it. I like to get curious because I like to learn more to find out how I can support other people. And I like to be creative with it. I like to be creative in the ways that I'm sharing information. And I like to be creative in the way that I'm receiving information. So what are yours? Supporting others, an ability to empathize with colleagues at all levels, helping people in crisis, helping people believe in themselves, adding value to humanity, integrity and being, showing true self, listening, empathy, knowledge, sharing, helping others be the best they can be. What fantastic people we have in this room right now. We have got like a collective goal, really, that we want to, make humanity more amazing than it already is. So what's your bigger vision and mission? Do you have an even bigger one? If you zoom out to then zoom back into your day-to-day, what's your bigger picture? And the thing is, when we know that our bigger picture, our bigger vision, our mission, however you want to word it, actually the benefits also include feeling that like transcendence, is contributing something bigger than yourself. And lots of you have already started to show this. It's just going to generate a deeper sense of meaning. And then we're going to create this beautiful cycle that we're already doing now. We've got some amazing people in here really changing the world. And that's what's, fantastic about this. Reducing the impact on the world, showing value, resilience, empathy, creativity. Fantastic. So as things pop in as we go, just feel free to add them again to the chat. And so I will talk a little bit about this later, but I'm running a program called Elevate. And that's one of the things that we are going to be looking at in the Women in Leadership program of Elevate, is actually identifying and utilizing your personal strengths in your own leadership. And we use the Insights Discovery. I don't know if any of you have done Insights before. If you have done Insights Discovery, let me know. But we're going to be using that as the basis of our program. And you probably can see the like little Lego bricks behind me. That's part of the insights discovery and finding out more about yourself and then how that's going to relate out into the team. So we're going to move on to connecting now. Lots of you have got insights. I love that. You love insights. Excellent. Being the best version of yourself you can possibly be. Thank you, Vicky. So we're going to go on to connecting now. So that's the trusted relationships with network and community. Now, for me, I've now divided this into two. So I feel like it's really important to connect with yourself first, because if you don't have a trusted relationship with yourself, it's pretty hard to then do it with other people. And then your team. That's building your network, your community, and the trusted relationships. So people with strong networks and good mentors enjoy more opportunities. They get paid better. They get more promotion opportunities and generally have greater career satisfaction. And essentially, it's all about that fulfillment and that happiness that we wanted from the meaning section. And you'll start to see they all start to overlap, how you need one to get the other to really be in alignment. We want all five. That's the goal. So here's some more self-audit questions, and I'd love to hear your answers. Do you truly know yourself and your thought patterns? So this is your sort of default autopilot go-to. Can you identify your hidden blocks, your inhibitors, any triggers? Do you know what they are? And again, it's okay if you don't. We're just bringing this into the awareness. And let me know in the chat. If you want to be honest with them, go for it. Oh, yeah, I think you do often ignore them. That is a classic human trait. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jill. Doubting yourself. Thank you for sharing, Vicky. I imagine as you start to get braver and start to throw some in, I imagine we will all be quite similar in that respect as well, because us human beings tend to have very similar inhibitors, blocks, and triggers. It's just at different levels due to our experiences and our environments and that kind of thing. Imposter syndrome. Yeah. Thank you, Emma, for sharing that one. And so the next one is, do you know how to effectively adapt your communication style? And how could that potentially influence your leadership and management? Because actually, if you have clarity in yourself, you can then speak out and you can speak out your ideas. You can go for opportunities. You can share ideas. So have you thought about how you adapt your communication style? And this is the thing. Sometimes these questions, you're like, actually, I just do it. I've never really thought about it before. And that's great. That's why I'm just bringing these questions to your awareness. And I appreciate we're going fast today to get this in an hour. But I will be sending these slides later so that if you choose to, you can go do a deeper exploration in your own answers. No, not fully. Excellent. Thank you for being honest. This is the thing. Like I say, we're busy. We don't always necessarily overthink some of these things. Do you actively develop relationships for your career advancement? So how are you going to speak to different people to get what you want? In a Harvard Business Review, there was a research paper about what differentiates a leader from a manager. And it was actually about the ability to figure out where to go to enlist the people and the groups necessary to get them where they wanted to go. So generally, this is just generally, men tend to have a broader network of people. And women, we tend to have smaller but deeper relationships with that small pool of people. Do you agree with that? Let me know in the chat. And this is the thing, we can learn from each other. So if you're a male on here, you might want to think, actually, oh, if you do relate to the broader network, actually, are there a few people that I could, go a little bit deeper with that relationship? And women, could we widen our net more? Can we learn from each other to get more from it? The thought of networking terrifies me. Thank you for being honest, Catherine. If you agree with Catherine, let us know, because I'm sure she's not the only one. Totally agree. Yeah, we've already got some replies. Thank you, Emma. Yes, I agree. Thank you, Tony. I agree it feels harder to network as a woman. I love networking in the right environment. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, outside the day job, not so many opportunities within the day job yet. I have a fairly wide network and enjoy the connections. Yes, I agree. I've been trying to get better at that. Thank you for sharing, guys. And so, like I say, we can learn from each other. And so, do you have a sponsor? Informal or formal? Do you know what a sponsor is? If you know what a sponsor is, pop it in the chat. Because a sponsor relationship, it shows that actually, research shows that women are more likely to advance at the same rate, really, as men when they have a sponsor. So really what I'm saying with a sponsor is people who have the power to make things happen for you, and not just like a one-off thing, like an appraisal or like a performance or management review. But it's someone who's like actively promoting you and empowering you, putting you in the right circles and the scenarios, believing in your capabilities, and kind of just helping you up there. Network is key to what I do. It opens so many opportunities in my life. Thank you, Caroline. My boss, Emma, thank you. She is amazing and a great ambassador for women in leadership. Emma, that's fantastic. Not officially, but I have a great manager who's very supportive. Thank you, Vicky. So already you're seeing that, you know, there are people out there who are there actively promoting you and actively believing in you, and it makes a difference. Some of you may be choosing not to comment right now, and maybe you don't feel like that, and that's okay too. But the more we can learn from each other that actually we can support each other, that's actually going to help build. So there was an amazing report by McKinsey who actually helped develop the centered leadership model, and it noted that men naturally understand that you must give before you get. But apparently our predisposition of women is that we actually don't have that tendency, which then that combined with what can sometimes like maybe be like the sort of awkward sexual politics, whether it's real or perceived, between senior men and younger women, that can be like another barrier, making it hard for women to find sponsors depending on your industry and where you're working. So it's just something to think about, how you could potentially look at people in your life, and is there maybe someone that actually you could be more active with to say, do you know what, actually I want to be open to more of these opportunities, would you help me? Because sometimes all it takes is to ask for it, and that's the next question. Ask for it. Do you ask for it? Because when you think of those social interactions and networks, I think a lot of women, and we've already had a few mention it in the chat there, we often describe it as like eating your vegetables. You rather not do it, but you know you should. Like that's often a phrase that comes up. So, you know, and again, this is being general, but with men, potentially there are like, you know, you may be a golfer or into sports and things. They tend to be the larger groups of social and networking, and it's a bit more casual. With women, like I said before, we tend to go deeper, we have smaller circles, and that's usually reflected in the way we socialize as well as our professional networks. So in the chat, let me know, what do you prefer? What type of networking do you prefer? Do you prefer like a big venue? Do you prefer a small, intimate conversation? What's your go-to preference? And does the opposite scare you? Because that's okay, but we want to build skills to be able to overcome that. So you have people holding you back. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being honest. Amy, I'd love to have a sponsor in the workplace, but nobody suitable that can relate, being a male-dominated industry. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yes, I will help colleagues and friends with connections and opportunities. I tend to find the male contacts don't tend to be so forthcoming unless there's something in it for them, which kind of comes back to the, like, you know, the give and the take thing. So actually, perhaps it's not that they're not so forthcoming, but actually it's maybe how we have to perceive the way that we ask for things to be able to, you know, start to make changes with that. I heard once, ask for what you want, don't wait to be offered it. So I asked for my current job. Harder said than done. This is the thing, when you actually go for it, it can be very terrifying, and it's about building those confidence skills within these things. But it's like flexing a muscle. It's like going to the gym. The more we think about it and the more we bring awareness to it, the more we can start to make baby steps, incremental steps, to be able to make a difference there. Biggest issue with networking can be people just meeting up with existing connections, and large groups terrify you. Thank you for being honest, Vicky. That's the thing. There are going to be people who are very natural in the bigger situations, and there'll be some that are really struggling. And by being aware of what your natural preference is, that's where you can then start to hone in on what skills you can do, you can like build on to be able to move past that and just gently start to move into the edge of the comfort zone, into new scenarios. And, you know, it's important to assess your comfort level, because the more you know that, it's going to be easier. And actually also, if you can start to recognize who's influential professionally, then you're going to be able to start to make those connections. And actually, most women, in a research paper I was reading, most women said that typically they find that colleagues they're close to are not necessarily the influential people, and vice versa. So you may find that. So it might be about widening your net just beyond the people that you're seeing on a day-to-day basis, or even within your company, which can be a bit scary. So it does take a bit of planning, does take a bit of risk taking, but you can change this. And I'm going to share with you an exercise in a moment. We won't have time to do the exercise online, but like I say, I'll send you the slides and the replay of this. So if you want to do it properly, because it does take a bit of time, it's a really fantastic exercise. And I use it myself to really look at your network and to spot the gaps in where potentially the gold could be for your next adventure. So think about it. It can be overtly transactional, so just ask for it. That can sometimes feel a bit icky, but sometimes you just need to ask for it. So I think you've already let me know how you feel about networking. Is there anything that's making you go, I don't like that at all, or I disagree, or I agree? It is all welcome. Let me know in the chat. And so this is a task that, like I say, it's not for now, because it does take some time and it takes some thought, but I'll whiz through it briefly so that you know what it is. And so this is a networking task. So what you're going to start with is you're going to make 2 columns. And the first one is people you have worked with. And in the second one, you are going to share people you've had like a moderate connection with. So maybe people you don't see very often. Think maybe like LinkedIn contacts, people that you maybe met at one networking event, but you haven't had much conversation beyond that. And you're going to make a list. And I imagine these lists are going to be pretty long. Once you've done that, we're going to then take it into a grid. So you're going to create 4 quadrants. And so this line going down the middle is showing at the top high influence and at the bottom low influence. So you're thinking about what influence they have potentially on your career. So this isn't like any kind of judgment thing on their positions or anything like that. You're just thinking purely selfishly to you, who has influence to impact your potential next stage and who doesn't. Okay. And then the other line is about degrees of comfort. So at one end, it's the low degree of comfort, like, they're kind of feeling a bit like too far away or a bit hard to talk to. It doesn't feel very nice. And then the other side is high degree of comfort. And then what we want is that sweet spot, because we want to find the people with high influence, but also people that we feel comfortable in talking to. And in that gap, the people, the names that go in there, as you start to take them from the other list and put them into their sections, that sweet spot is your first stage of who to go to start networking and building relationships. And when I say that, I mean a real know, like, and trust. It's not just about what you want for your career. It's about building a meaningful and trusted relationship with that person, but also being honest and asking for it. So most likely when you do this exercise, you'll need more names in this space, because it tends to be, particularly with women, the names in this space, there aren't so many. And that's a good thing as well, though, because I know I keep saying it, but when we have awareness of it, that's when we can really start to change and develop. So I'm just going to have a little look in the chat because I haven't looked across for a bit. We ran a women's network conference to give staff a space to network and make connections, and I have a monthly meetings to do the same and offer opportunities for mentoring and training. I love that. That's brilliant. The industry I work in is still quite male dominated. Yeah, absolutely. But that does mean that there's also space for you to come and shine through, as other women can as well. Sometimes just knowing what to say to people is hard for networking. Absolutely. I literally just ran a networking event yesterday, a training event about how to network, question starters, how to actually go into those spaces and build that confidence. It's something that we do quite a lot here at Jarrell Training. It does take practice. And like I say, there'll be personality types that find it very natural and other people that don't find it so natural. But remember, our brain is our superpower. So women are actually incredibly natural relationship building, even if it doesn't feel very nice to start with. We are actually predispositioned genetically to be good at it. And so the art of relationships is vital in your leadership excellence. And we are actually very good at producing brain chemicals called oxytocin and serotonin, and they're like our social hormones. And if we look at the neuroscience between it, these are our 4 main brain chemicals, and we've got the 2 in the middle, oxytocin, serotonin. They're selfless chemicals, and the males tend to go for the dopamine and endorphins. That's just the natural one that kicks in first. Doesn't mean we don't have all 4. And so the evolutionary biology, I found this really interesting when I was researching this, is that women actually increase chances of offspring and the tribe to survive. So if we're going back in the cavemen and stuff, we are there to protect, to build a connection and then protect. And so that means that, you know, particularly back in the day, but this is still true now, even though our world has changed very, very differently. It means that when there's any aggression or danger coming through, or any, you know, danger at present. And when I say danger, you know, that can just be a bit of conflict or, you know, that kind of thing in the workplace. We produce the oxytocin and the serotonin, and that actually suppresses our amygdala, which is the part of our brain that actually produces the stress hormone cortisol that goes around our body. So our brains, our bodies have the natural ability to shut down stress and go, nope, we don't need that right now. It's not going to work for us. We are going to stay calm so we can protect the people that we are with. Whereas the male genetics tend to react to protect and fight the threat and protect that way. And that's a great thing as well. And that brings that different chemical kick in. So if the things don't go great in the workplace, ancient survival instincts can kick in. And most of us are very good at then, you know, changing and adapting as we need to. But the first initial thing will be what happens naturally in your body. So the female tendency does go towards inclusiveness, and that helps support being an effective leader. And these 2 evolutionary styles between men and women, well, actually, that shows it's an ideal partnership. Is a balanced leadership approach because it's going to utilize everyone's inherent and natural skills. So it's not about one being right, one being wrong. Let's utilize them all. But actually, when we know about what our natural kick-in is, we can also be aware of that as well. I'm just going to have a look at here. I find men in suits particularly scary for some reason. Thank you for addressing that, Victoria. Question on the who have had moderate connection with, how are people keeping up connections at former roles? Is that just via LinkedIn? Thank you, Max. Well, this is the interesting thing. You need to find what kind of connection is going to suit you the best. Obviously, LinkedIn is a great professional space to keep in touch, but actually there are spaces online, like a networking events that you might say, well, actually, I've got a moderate connection and I really want to keep in touch with them. Maybe I could actively invite them to this networking event, whether it's online or in person. And then that is a good way of me connecting. And actually, you're opening a door for another woman to find another opportunity. Of course, social media is amazing. There's nothing wrong with email. The fact that we have Zoom and we can talk to people across the globe like we're doing right now is a great way. So it's about being creative about who the person is and what do you think is going to be the best way to connect with them in, you know, an experiment. It's not going to be the same for every single person you connect with. So play around and find out what suits you. I hope that helps, Max. Let me know in the comments if you need anything else from that. So I appreciate we're really going at a fast pace. Are you all still with me? Yeah, thanks. So we're going to go back to the identity and environment. So we're moving up our triangle now. So we're going to start to look at the strategy and mindset. So as we go into this bit, it's our framing. So self-awareness, adaptability. So optimists see life more realistically than pessimists. That's what science shows us. So that frame of mind can be crucial when it comes to making the right business decisions. And that insight may be particularly critical for women because we are actually twice as likely to become depressed, and we are very good at masking it. And I can speak from personal experience with this because I had postnatal depression when I had my baby, and I actually had no idea, and neither did anyone else. And then when I started to suspect it, I realized I'd been so good at hiding it all that, you know, I didn't want to tell anyone. Yeah, we're very good at hiding and masking. If you want to share in the chat, if you relate, then please do, but don't feel like you have to. But we are more at a predisposition to be more vulnerable for that. So actually positive framing and positive thinking, these are going to be really crucial for anybody, but it will really help mental health as well. And so what we're trying to do is actually take a negative and we are shifting it into a positive belief. So we want to, well, there's a great phrase, the brain believes what we tell it. And that's so true. So if we are sure that there's only ever bad things that happen to us and things will never change, that's pretty much what will happen. When we start playing around with how we use our mind and our subconscious mind to reframe things, that's when change can start to really, escalate for a really great reason. Thank you, guys. So Andrea Young, she was the chairman of, I think she was CEO as well of Avon, the makeup company. And there was a point where Avon wasn't doing very well and they weren't hitting their targets and their goals and all of that. And it was all sort of seeming like it was going to fall apart around her. And so one night, I think it was a Friday night, she fired herself. And so then on the following Monday, she rehired herself and she turned up as a new her, which may sound extreme, but she had decided that actually I need to break this negative cycle. I need to pattern disrupt. And I need to step into a new leadership style and I need to have a turnaround. And actually, she then started to, prove herself as a glass half full optimist. And actually, the recovery plan and the team all around her adopted this new approach very, very quickly because they started to see the results changing. And that actually then created a steady improvement and then a return to growth and success. So there's a lot to be said when you're actually modeling as a leader as well to go, do you know what? I don't want to be like this anymore. And it's not about not being your authentic self, but it's about just going, actually, I'm going to take a little ownership of this and I'm going to make changes. So if we're thinking about our self-audit here, what are your common thought patterns and reactions? So if you walked into an office because your boss had called you in for an unexpected meeting, and as soon as you enter the room, there are two really big executives there, and they suddenly stop talking and they shuffle papers and they put them away really hastily as you enter. What's your automatic self-talk there? Let me know. What would you automatically think? Do you see setbacks as temporary or do you see them as permanent? Do you commonly view problems as an external cause or do you assume that they were under your personal control and perhaps they were your fault? Do you use your natural adaptability that you have in your career like you do in your personal life and vice versa? What do we have here? Assume I'm in trouble. P45. Presume they're talking about you. Crap, what did I do wrong? Yeah, exactly. Straight away, we're going, oh, what if they were actually just talking about something really important, about an amazing growth expansion plan and potentially a promotion for you, but they weren't quite ready to share it yet. So they quickly put it away. What if they were actually talking about what they were going to have for tea tonight because they're going out to a really nice restaurant and then they realized the desk looked really messy, so they thought they'd put it all away? Yeah, we are really good at presuming. Yeah. So be aware, what is your framing that you naturally go to? This also goes with leadership roles. This is Julia Gillard, the former Prime Minister of Australia. And she said, the whirring stereotypes at the back of all of our brains means that when we close our eyes and ask to picture a leading politician or a CEO, we're more likely to see a man in a suit than we are a woman. Do you relate to that? By acknowledging that sexist baggage, we can second guess ourselves. And that is going to play in our mind because there is going to be some part of us, and this is part of systemic change here, that there's part of us that doesn't believe that we deserve these leadership roles as well. So be aware of that as well. The power of the mind is incredible, and bringing awareness and navigating what is going on intrinsically, so inside you, will impact what you're giving out externally and what you're communicating out into your world, into your team, to your clients, whichever industry you are. So super quick mindset audit. You're going to fill in the blank here in the chat for me. I would be an amazing architect if, and I want you to fill in the gap. If there is any architects in the room, I don't think there is, but if there is, use the job role as a pilot instead. I would be an amazing architect if I could draw. I would be an amazing architect if I wanted to be, if I could draw, if I was creative, if I could do maths, if I chose to, if I was very creative, if I was suitably qualified. Keep those answers coming. So I would be an amazing architect if it interested me. Thank you, Mandy. If I could do maths, I wrote that one. I see. I think Amy, you did too. Yeah. And there's lots of similars. if I could visualize buildings, if I could, any I could answers are naturally aware of limitations, real and imagined reasons why potentially you can't. So we don't want those ones, even though that's probably where we naturally go to. So actually, if I would be an amazing, I would be an amazing architect if I put my mind to it. We had some people in there who said that. So there's very subtle differences, but it's talking about the growth mindset here. So our own work determining our success. And that's going to build psychological resilience and handle adversity in any leadership scenarios. And so let's unshame any subconscious blocks or triggers, because, you know, you might be thinking, oh no, I wrote an if I could. That's okay. Doesn't matter. But the more we think about it, now it's going to come into your mind. And actually, the joy is that when we have these limiting beliefs, they can actually become our magic. They can become our gifts, because we're actually bringing awareness to it. And then we're actively changing the way that we're thinking about things. So when we go into the next section, something to think about as well when you're reframing is actually for your team. There's the Pygmalion effect. And so people will internalize positive and negative labels, whether they believe it to be true or not. So you can use reframing on yourself, but also how you can support your team or your families, anything like that. So notice their language, any unintentional limiting beliefs or specific words. And you can support their reframe by rewording it and utilizing the Pygmalion effect of actually you believe what you're told and you believe what you tell yourself. So high expectations, when they're expressed genuinely and with assurance, can actually really affect the performance of others and draw out potential, which is incredible. And so we've got energizing. This is about sustainable practices and restoration. So do you know what drains your energy reserves? Do you know what lights you up? Do you believe in a work-life integration? Because I don't personally believe there's a thing called balance with this, work-life balance, but there is integration. Because actually, I mean, for me, I have a family, I have a daughter, I love my job. I don't need them to be balanced. I love what I do and I love my family, and that's okay. I'm allowed to. Other people will want to have different like percentages and balance, you know, tipping on the scale, and that's absolutely cool for everybody. But it's about integrating what you want and what's right for you and what's right for whoever you have in your personal life. Because 60% of senior executives work more than 50 hours a week. But then we also know as women, we tend to come home, like I said earlier, about that invisible workload, that second shift of, you know, household or parenting, you know, some of us may have. We may have also the, you know, things like menopause or pregnancy or anything like that to actually navigate as well. So potentially balance is a myth. So that's where the integration is, and that's where you choose to like put your energy in it every time. And so we want to think about your flow state. What is easy to you? What are the things that you do that actually you don't even notice the time has passed because you're so in it, you're getting that satisfaction, which is fantastic. So the more that you're doing them, you're not not feeling drained, you're actually feeling energized by the work that you do. So a particular tip for this is actually, if you're thinking about cutting everything else out of the world for a moment, putting your phone on do not disturb or something like that, and getting stuck into whatever it is that you really love and enjoy. Actually, if you do that, you'll start to see your productivity does actually benefit over time. And if you're a leader or an aspiring leader, you can then start to go, right, well, that's my strength and that's where I'm in my flow state. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to start to delegate the other things, but I'm going to find the people where that job that is not my flow state, but it is theirs. So I'm not delegating and then passing on stuff that I don't want to do. Actually, I'm gifting them something that they're amazing at. And then they're going to feel good. So I'm going to be energized. They're going to be energized. And then it's like a ripple effect. So think about what you do well and what just happens, and your time just flies and it's great. Okay. And then I know we're going quick now. We're moving up our triangle and we're going into behavior and habits. So this is another great exercise. And again, we don't have time to do it today, right now, but I'd love you to go away and do it. And please feel free to email me what you've come up with as well, because I'd love to see it. It's like a self-audit of your energy. So you're going to draw it into 4 quadrants, and you're going to think about your physical, your stamina, your drive. How much energy do you have right now in this moment? Could you go and do a gym workout? Do you explicitly take good care of yourself? And then we've got cognitive. How easy is it for you to focus? What excites you? What makes you in flow? Your social. So this is your relationships to others, your core values, your groups. Do they energize you or do they drain you? Do you use your strengths regularly in groups? Are you living your purpose? And emotional, this is your psychological needs. What sparks anxiety for you? Stress, anger. What makes your heart sing? What do you love to do? Yeah. Pop these in and then see if you've got one quadrant that doesn't actually seem to quite feel as balanced as you would like it to be. And the last one is engaging. So presence and ownership, risk-taking, action, and results. Thank you for your shares, by the way. I will go back in a second and read them. So this is about engaging other people in your story, your why, your intentions. You know, if you got some of my emails leading up to this, I shared a tiny snippet of my journey with you, just because I wanted to make sure that you knew it wasn't an automated welcome from me. It's because I deeply care about women in leadership and I want to connect with you and find out what's going on for you and actually get to know you beyond this webinar. Yeah, it's important. So it's not because I want to talk about myself, but it's about taking ownership of my journey and making it relevant to you. And so actually it's like a systematic approach to self-improvement here. So we're having the courage to like dive in and problem solve and risk take and all of those things that we have to do as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a business owner, as a manager. So when we are looking at taking risks, I mean, how do you feel about taking risks? Let me know in the chat. Because actually a lot of people tend to want to avoid it. But actually those who actually kind of sit on the edge of the comfort zone actually find a greater degree of happiness when they choose to sit on the edge. So do you believe that things happen to you? Or do you believe that you make things happen? Because actually, when we start to, again, reframe this and engage in our ownership and actually go, do you know what? I'm going to reach out to my colleague. I'm going to reach out to a coach. I'm going to reach out to a sponsor. And it's not about avoiding making decisions for yourself, but it's learning the best outcome for change and seeing the opportunities that you could have so you can then decide whether you want to go for them or not. I'll weigh things up, but if I stay where I am, I don't go anywhere new. Exactly. And we're all ever evolving. We want to keep changing. And at the end of the day, taking risks, having the fear, risk, doubt, struggle, is all part of the professional development process. And if we just reframe it and welcome it all, rather than being like, I'm Macaulay Culkin here, you know, that's when perceptions are going to change and we're going to get more change in our careers. So I know we're nearly getting to the end and I really value your time and energy and I'm loving this. I'm going to go back as well and read all of these in a minute. But I want to just quickly share with you that I have a new program starting in November, which I'm so excited about. And it's called Elevate. And it's been designed to explore how to effectively lead and navigate the challenges and differences that we as women can face through leadership. And so it's about building tools of mindset, our strengths, and it's going to be looking at that model in so much more detail and really crafting it around your industry and your specific career goals. So it's a 5-half-day program. And I will be holding an in-person one in Norwich. And for those of you who are further afield, I'll also be running a virtual course as well. And it also has an optional accreditation, an ILM Level 3 award in leadership and management, if you would like to do so too. And so the next cohort for the online and for the in-person both start in November. And so as a gift to you for being here with me today, I would love to give you 10% off. If you want to write down your code, you're very welcome to. And also the details in the chat. And Karen, if you don't mind popping in the website into the chat for everyone, I would love that, please. And also, there's an opportunity for some of you might be eligible for up to 75% funding as well. So if that's something that you want to maybe explore or learn a bit more about, you're very welcome to stay on in a bit and ask me some questions about it. But equally, next week, I would love you to join me in the lab, which is linking ambitious businesswomen, because we've got an incredible community of women right here. And so I want this to keep going because we're talking about networking. We're talking about building confidence in these scenarios. And you're doing such an amazing job here in the comments. Let's keep it going. And rather than having a PowerPoint presentation, let's really get to know each other and connect. So if you'd like to join me next week for another lunchtime session, this one is going to be about sharing any reflections and insights you may have had from today. If you have any questions for me, then you can then have me to your disposal and you can ask away. And if you've got any ideas or anything like that you want to share, then it's all very, very welcome into the space. So if you'd like to come, then please do let me know, and I will make sure that you get the details for that. And so I know we're nearly at time. I'm very happy to stay on after 1:30, but I do want to honor your time as well. So if you do need to head off, then feel invited to do so. But if you have any questions, then please pop them in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can say hello now as well if you wish. Thank you, Karen, for the link there. Oh, and I would love to join. Fantastic. Can you have the details for next week, please? Yes, absolutely. Oh, Karen, I didn't miss any questions. Excellent. Thank you. She was keeping an eye because I can get talking and then miss questions in the chat. 29th of Tuesday. Oh, did I write the wrong date? I will double check that, but it will be Wednesday. I might have done a typo. What I will do, everybody, is I will send you an email out and send you the Zoom link so that you can join if you wish. Thank you, Mel. Oh, thanks for joining from Australia. That's amazing. Thank you for the snapshot. It's been enlightening. Would love to continue the networking, please. Excellent. I would love to see you guys there next week. And then I would love it for also to be something that we can continue beyond. Now, if you are still with me and you'd like to, I've got 4 final questions just for you to consider for your awareness. So are you a member of a community that pushes you just beyond your comfort zone and your learning zone? Do you have conversations with people who are slightly ahead of you, intimidate you on a regular basis? Are you part of a community where you are encouraged to own your own accomplishments and where you can safely share your struggles? And are you ready to explore your potential personally and professionally? If any of those things resonate, then come chat with me next week, because I'd love to share more about the opportunities where we can keep building these communities, keep learning, keep growing, and actually together we can all start to bring even more change into what's already happening, this really amazing ripple effect going out where women are stepping into even more amazing careers and goals. Thank you so much, everybody. Victoria, how does Elevate differ from Drive? Well, actually, Victoria, Elevate is very much more specific in terms of the women, like the differences and the challenges we face as women. So it will actually work around the centered leadership model, which Drive doesn't. But actually, if you want to have a chat, if you want to stay on afterwards, I can get more specific for you, or we can talk about it next week in the Q&A, because I'm just conscious of everybody's time. But I'd love to have a chat with you about that. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Insightful webinar. Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you. It was fab. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, guys. And I really appreciate your time. And if any of you do, if you have like literally 2 minutes of your time, then I would absolutely love you to fill in our online evaluation, because it really does help us ensure that we can bring more webinars and trainings that are really specific to your needs and to serve you in the most powerful way. So Karen, I believe, is going to put a link in, if she hasn't already, into the chat. And if you could fill that in, it will only take literally a minute. So I really appreciate your time. And if anyone does have any questions you've thought of or anything like that, then feel free to stay on after everyone's gone, or you can also email me. But thank you so much for your time, and have an amazing rest of your day, everybody.